Hey everybody, it's Jason. Welcome back to the Mosaic Church Podcast. At the end of this podcast, please take a moment to connect with us on social media. It's a great place to learn more and to see what's happening at Mosaic. Most importantly, hope the following message encourages and inspires you to take a new step on your faith journey. Enjoy.
Man, it's a great time of year. We just finished all the turkey, right? The stuffing, all the turkey, all the cranberries, the most delicious pumpkin pie. Oh, I love pumpkin pie. I love apple pie. I love the whole thing. I love Thanksgiving. It's so much fun. And those who skip over Thanksgiving, how dare you? It's time to just pause and process in just thinking through everything we have. I mean, so often we're flying through life, right? We're just flying through life so fast all the time that we don't really pause. I was just thinking about that this week. Like, I cannot believe it's Christmas already. And as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that time is going faster. I'm not getting older, time's going faster. And as time's going faster, somehow my age number keeps going up. And I just can't fathom like how fast seasons move now. And so Thanksgiving is that special time we pause and just breathe for a few seconds to process like what is good in your life, what God has done. What are we thankful for? And then after that, we stop all that thankfulness stuff and we put up our trees and we throw up our Rudolphs and we move on to this monster celebration of Christmas. So as Jared had said to us in our beginning, it's time. It is Christmas season. And Christmas season is yet another reason for us to pause and think about what we are thankful for. Because honestly, when all the festivities begin, all the trees go up, pumpkin spice latte is now the thing of the past. It's now peppermint mocha everything. Peppermint mocha everything. We're moving from season to season. And if we do a good job of slowing down, we start to get excited about the season what we're in. And so we're now in the season of Christmas. And have you ever stopped to think about why is this season so special? Like, why do we spend a month celebrating? For some of you, 6 months. We'll talk about that later. But the month of celebrating, why do we do it? Like, what's the big deal behind Christmas season? When I was a kid, I loved presents. Like, when I was a kid, like, I could not wait to that morning, and I would be all like bubbly and excited and, circling all the gifts I wanted in the Sears and JCPenney catalog. And, I just couldn't wait. And I would have like, how many more sleeps till I get to Christmas? And I was just so excited for all of the presents. And then when I got older and I was a teen, I was so excited because now I was off of school. I didn't have to go to school. I had a winter break, at least for a couple of weeks. And of course, still presents. I was super excited about that. And I started to get more excited about the festivities around and food, because as a teenager, we consume ridiculous amounts of food. So I was excited about that. And then the season of college, when I went to college, it was a season of being away from home and that coming back home and feeling safe again. The smells, the nostalgia, the tree up, mom's cooking, like it turned into a place of rest. Because in college, I was grinding, not only as a student, but as an athlete. And for a month, I got to just slow down, and it felt like I could be a kid again. And then I got married, and we started to find our own traditions, and then we had children. And now in this season, I now celebrate when my kids were young, looking at Christmas through their eyes. The anticipation, the celebration, all the traditions that we're doing to recreate something special for them during the season. And so now I'm looking at Christmas not through my eyes, but through their eyes. And now I'm in a different season of life where my son's in college, so I'm looking at him come home. My daughter is in high school as a senior, and now we're holding on to those memories as another season's going to shift, known as empty nesting. And those who are older than me, grandparents, you start seeing Christmas through the eyes of your grandchildren. And we start to have these seasons that we celebrate, and we celebrate them differently as we move along. But when we really sit down and think about it, like I ask the question, what are we really excited about in the season? When a kid, it's presents and all those sorts of things. When I'm a teenager, it's coming back and resting. But I found out something very curious about what we really love about the seasons. It's community. You can't do Christmas on your own. It doesn't feel right if it's on our own. There's something missing. You can't buy yourself I guess you can buy yourself a present Amazon, wrap it, and I'm so shocked, like it's community. It's us together with people. When we start blending our lives with people, it is awesome, it's exciting, and it's really messy, and it gets kind of weird sometimes, as many of us found out at Thanksgiving. When you start bringing family together with different political views and religious views, and you start talking around the table, and that crazy Aunt Doris is over there yelling at your kids, and you have all this stuff going on, you're like, I don't like community, and we start to get frustrated with each other. But the truth of the matter is, why we love seasons like this is community. Picture for a second isolation on a desert island, and it's Christmas. Maybe you'd go and cut down a palm tree and put some sort of hanging rocks on it. Maybe you'd celebrate and say, this is the reason of the season is Jesus came to save us, which is the ultimate reason. And you'd celebrate, but who are you celebrating with? You're by yourself. But when you bring two or more people together and we start celebrating together, something special happens. It creates memories. It creates traditions. It creates something very unique because we were meant to share our lives with people. And that's what makes this time so special. Christmas time, we're celebrating, we're giving gifts, we're eating great foods. But then there's the other side of this, in which Christmas is extremely painful. This Christmas season will not be joyous. This Christmas season will be the first that someone lost a loved one. This Christmas season will be an isolation and loneliness. This Christmas season will have children who will not return, will not call, and will not celebrate. This season will have people who are struggling. There will be fights, there'll be bickering, there'll be loss, there'll be hurt, and it is just dark and lonely. And so in this season time of Christmas, as we start to process, when we look at community, this past month we've been exploring Jesus and the way, and Jesus has been showing us, if you're new or newer to our series, we've been looking at what did he say, where did he go, what did he actually do? To know to follow the way, we have to know the way. We have to know who Jesus is. And so if we're exploring into knowing what he said and we have to know what's important to him. And community was very important to him. And so today we're going to explore Jesus' view of how we as Christians are called to care and love for one another. How do we do community as a faith community? Because in one sense, a lot of us are strangers. We don't really know each other, or we'll use the word acquaintance. Some of us would have the level friend. A few of us will have deep friendships. But most of the time as we're engaging the faith community, we see it as a gathering of people. And in this gathering of people, we ask the question does anybody really know me? And do I really know anybody? Because in relationship and community, that was a lot of people. I can't know everybody. I get that. But are we taking the time as a community to actually know each other? Living life with each other. Knowing the good, the bad, the ugly, all of that put together. And we're going to look at Jesus because Jesus, as we learned last week, is the creator of all things. He is in him and through him all things have been created. He was with God in the beginning. He is God. And so all of creation he made purposeful. And he purposefully has made us for community in relationship. We see it right away in Genesis. He makes man. It's not good for him to be alone. He needs community. Humans are created for community. So if that is true and Jesus made it and he's the creator, he is now the authority. As authority, he gets to speak. No one else gets to speak. He is the big dog. He is the boss. He gets to tell us, what do I want from you in community? Since I created it, this is its intention. That's where we're going to jump into our passage today. In your Bibles or Bible apps, we're in John chapter 15, looking at 9 to 13. If you have your Bibles, you can open those up. We can flip the lights on in the back for our people in the back. Matt, you can flip the lights on in the back for the people. There we go. Thank you, brother. For those who have their Bibles. And then our Bible apps will be on the screen as well. This is such a beautiful passage. There's so much richness to it. So I don't want to just rush through a verse. I want us to marinate on it. You know what marinate is? When we marinate something, we take this thing and we soak it in something so the flavors of that thing, that juice, that brine, that flavor, we marinate that steak. The flavors come part of the actual product. And so when we marinate on the word, we soak in this for a little bit. Let's just not dip, let's soak, right? John 15, 9-13. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. I've told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Let's go again. We're going to marinate on this. I just want you to soak in what Jesus is saying to us right now. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's command and remained in his love. I've told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. He's sharing with his disciples this simple and beautiful command. I have modeled for you what this looks like. So he's saying to him, look at this right now. I am Jesus. The Father has loved me. I take this, and now I love you. The Father has a command for me, and I obeyed. I have a command for you, now you obey. And now you are going to take my love and my teachings, and you're going to pass it on to the next person. We are handing it down the line. What is Jesus handing us down the line? The Father has loved. I have loved you. You will love others. And this love will continue on for generation to generation, from believer to believer, that we are going to be people of crazy, radical, godlike love. That is what he's asked us to. My command is this: you love each other as I have loved you. But let's be honest about this for a second. We're not known for that. Church people are not known for the way that they love each other. We're known for really mostly negative things outside the church world. When you think about a faith community, outside of Mosaic, of course, because we got this nailed. All the other ones, right? If you think about a faith community, majority of you have been in some faith community sometime in your life, either as a child growing up, perhaps you went to a main line when you were a child, perhaps you've been evangelical your whole life, perhaps you've bounced around, perhaps this is your third, fourth church in your life, perhaps this is your first. For the majority of the people here, you've had some sort of church experience. I know I did. I started attending church at around 8 years old when I found Jesus, and I went to a church, and then we moved, and we went to another church because we moved, and I've been part of a faith community from that time to another church, to here I am today. So I've been part of 5 faith communities. And in my faith communities, I would never say going to church was about how much everybody loved each other. Process this for a second. Now, this is my experience. If you have, that is so amazing. It's not been my experience. My experience of attending a gathering of people together, that there were glimmers and like sparks of people inside of a congregation who were like crazy radical love people, who were disciple makers, who were on mission for Jesus, who would give the shirt off your back. I saw people, like people popping up. So this is not doom and gloom. Can't have doom and gloom at Christmas season, right? It's not doom and gloom, it's sparks. And these little sparks would influence people radically. When I first started attending church, I had amazing Sunday school teachers, Ralph and Claudia Schaefer. Ralph and Claudia. I don't know how old they were. I was 8, so it felt like they were 102 to me. But, I mean, we're in the 80s, 90s. I mean, we're talking tweed suits, older gentlemen, probably, I'm going to guess probably their retirement age for sure, maybe 65, 70, I don't know. Older brother, older sister. They so faithfully loved the children of this church. Every Sunday, I would come in, and they would love us with wafer cookies. You know those wafer cookies, the strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate? Yeah, let's go. Let's go. I'm like, let's go to Sunday school because I got wafer cookies. And we would have wafer cookies. We would have the Archway cookies sometimes. Archway, if you know what those are, the molasses cookies and stuff like, and oatmeal raisin stuff kids won't eat these days. Oh, we loved it. The stuff that grandma and grandpas bring to parties, right? And Ralph always had juicy fruit gum in his suit pocket. Oh, come on, guys. He'd hand out juicy fruit gum after service because you had to wait till afterwards. You know, if you're naughty, you didn't get any gum. So I listened to everything he said. And I remember a few things about Ralph and Claudia. I remember our songs, like we would sing songs. They had like little placards. So we'd have the song, Stop and Tell the Story of What the Lord Has Done for You. Stop and tell the story what the Lord has done for me. And be like a little stop sign. I remember her like flipping it back and forth. Like she'd like, I remember that. I remember the felt board with, like here is felt Jesus with felt tomb and felt tomb rolled away. I remember that. I don't remember what they taught me. I remember how they made me feel. I remember when I still remember being loved by them. Patient, kind, gentle. I remember poor Claudia telling me for the 75th time I've asked Jesus in my heart because I messed up that week. So who wants to ask Jesus in the heart? And I would go in the room. They're like, oh, Jason, you've done this 75 times. You're saved, like you're washed, right? But I was trying to understand. She was patient. She was kind. She was loving. For me, that was the first time I engaged Christian faith that way. I was 8, 9, 10 years old. And all I knew is that when I went into that room, I was loved. And so that was my first experience. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is what faith journey is all about. And I loved it. And I said, I want to be a part of this story. And here's this little sidebar for everybody. If you think you can't influence the next generation because you don't know what TikTok is, it doesn't matter. Just love our next generation well, please. Love them, and they will remember you. Be kind. Care for them. Say hi to them out in the hallway. Give them a high five. Let's show them love because that's going to change their world. It changed mine. It wasn't the cool, hip, new teenager at my church. It was a retired couple in tweed suits and dresses to the floor who loved me unconditionally. And it transformed my understanding of Christianity. And so I expected this is what faith journey is like. All Christians are like this. And so we had to move from that church. I went to my new church and had great people there, met some great people. And I started to understand that's not how everybody is. My youth eyes were opened up to my teenage eyes. I started to understand people with white hair aren't necessarily wise. Just because you're older doesn't mean you're going to be kind. And I started to see that there's brokenness inside of the church. And so much so that when I went to college, my church had a church split. And I've heard me say this before. I'm like, I'm done with church. It went from what I believed into something so broken. The brokenness was about arguing and bickering and some disagreement about this and the carpet should be purple and not blue and blah, 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 blah. But all I remember in my youth days are the people that loved me. My youth pastor loved me. My youth workers loved me. I remember people that cared for me. And I start to sit back and I say, okay, if this is what influenced me, how can I be a catalyst, not only to a church family, but to the next generation to show love, kindness, encouragement, to show this? Because when Jesus speaks, he means it. And he said this, they're going to know who you are if you love unbelievably well. Here's the other side. Here's the dark side of the coin. Just our faith journey here at Mosaic. The number one reason I've heard people why they've left the Mosaic family is not my preaching, is not our ministries, is not the temperature of our room, the size. It's nothing out here. The number one reason people have left Mosaic over the years is because of broken relationships, because of someone not loving someone well. They said something unkind. They stepped on someone's foot. They didn't say they were sorry. And there's a maturity to having a broken relationship and saying, let's repair that, which is another message for another day. But the number one reason in our 5-year time is that the broken relationships of you to each other say, I don't have to be a part of this, I'm gone. And that's where it gets really complicated, right? Because we're supposed to be a family, and your family is crazy. We all are, right? You learn that at Thanksgiving, you'll learn it at Christmas. Like, all of us have issues. And so when you gather people together, it's not that you're going to agree on everything. It's not that you're going to like everything someone says, but to love you, even when it's hard, shows I understand my master. I understand Jesus. If I can love you through the junk and not give up on you, I'm showing you love, and that love can change people's lives. That's why Jesus said, you've got to love. He loved me, I loved you, you love each other, keep spreading that. But that's not what we're known for. If we ask outside the church what we're known for, it's not love. It's all sorts of other words that they'll use for us. Because I think our modern culture it's so individualistic that as we come into a gathering of people, you're wondering, how is my experience? What is my experience here? Do I like it? Did I like today's sermon? Did I like today's worship? Well, what's great about that is we're not worshiping you, so it doesn't matter. We're worshiping him. It's not about me, it's about we. That's what God has brought together, that we work through hard, difficult things, and we love through great times and through hard times, because that's going to show the world that crazy, radical love. I've shared some stories with some of my friends who are not church attenders about different things I've been engaged with. I've been trying to model this well, and I've been telling some stories. And my one friend said this to me. She said, Jason, every time you talk, you take me to church. I said, oh, we meet 10 o'clock on Sunday mornings at Mosaic Church. Feel free to come. No. I said, what do you mean? She's like, you're always radical about what you're saying. Like, I could never do what you did. And I would say, it's not me. This is my favorite saying. It is not me. I'm just trying to do what Jesus asked because I think Jesus, through me, can help change the world. I don't think I can do anything good. I think he can. So if I do what he did, I get to model it because he changed the world with loving people. I just want to love well. And they just say, well, you're crazy. I get it. Because we as believers are the start of love. If the Holy Spirit is in us, then we need to be the catalyst of that type of love for people and for the community, because we have the power of God in us, in the Spirit, to love the unlovable, be with the broken, and care for each other. But this isn't a Mosaic thing. This is a universal church thing. We're starting to lose our way from the things that Jesus has actually said. He says this in verse 13. I'm going to add 14 to it. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. Sounds like, this is like, if you do what I say, then I love you. Jesus is saying this, I have shown you love. I have shown you the way. If you repeat this, and you are my friend, we are in relationship with each other, and here's what happens. In relationship to each other, I'm going to give my life for you. I'm going to give everything I can for you. And that's what Jesus did. He died, paid for every sin that was happening then and for the future and the past. He has covered all sins for all of humanity, the ultimate price paid for those who call on Jesus Christ as Savior. It's very core, the love that Jesus offers us is so ridiculously sacrificial that it makes you stop in your boots and say, could I die for a group of people that don't love me? My answer is never. No, I can't do that. If you like me, maybe, but if you don't love me, like, why would I sacrifice myself for you? No problem. I'll jump in front of a car to save my family. I'll jump in a car to save my friends. A random person walk across the street, I'm going to think twice, should I? Right? Like, be honest. Be honest. Like, hopefully my gut response of Jesus in me says, give my life for others. But the truth of the matter is that if we are not engaging in love daily, not only those who love us, but those who don't like us, we don't really engage in God's love. Because God's love at its core is sacrificial. Because he first loved us, he sent his son to die for us. So at the core of love, it's not feeling, it's not emotion, it's this deep down sacrifice. So to love that the way we're talking about, this is getting heavy now, yeah? The love the way that we're talking about, it's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you everything. Love like Jesus costs you a lot. It's going to cost you. It's not simple words anymore. It's not, oh, high five, how's your week? Good to see you. It's being with people in hard, messy places. And they say, oh, that's why you're here, Pastor Jason. Your job is to love everybody. Love all of us. Be here for all of us. And God bless you, I can't. I can't be there for everybody. And that's not what Jesus said. Jesus said, you need to love like me. I'm just teaching you about it. We're on the same plane, brothers and sisters. We have the same job and responsibility. And so if you love like Jesus and I love like Jesus, and we keep loving inside, let's just say these walls here today, we love well here. We love well out there. We're fulfilling the command Jesus has told us to love. But it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you a lot. And in the church world we live in, when we don't like a relationship or that person bothers me, it's so easy to walk out the door and never be seen again. I get that. I get it. That's our modern world. You can go into this big monster church. Nobody knows your name. You're in, you're out. You hear your message. You got your coffee. You're out. Don't have to deal with relationship. Don't have to deal with people. I don't really like people anyways. All the introverts are like, this message is terrible. You have to love. And what if Jesus, just process with me for a second, what if part of the creation of the gathering of people was that this was a training ground to know how to love each other? Because it's going to be hard. Like, isn't our faith journey always bringing us a new challenge? We learn, we grow, we find out we need to learn and grow more. The closer I get to Jesus, the more I realize how far he is away. And I take a step forward, and I think I've made big progress. But the holiness and righteousness of God is so unattainable that I keep reaching and stretching. And the more I reach and stretch, the more I grow to become more like him. And what if this gathering isn't about you, it's about us? And your journey is going to be impacted by how you love others inside of a church family. Now, the church we've talked about before is the large gathering of all believers, so we'll throw all believers together. This is our church family. We're one of many in this area, of course. If we just start here, because this is a lot of people to deal with, we start here and start loving well, I think the whole church will look different. What would it look like if we did for the next 4 weeks, loved each other this way? So I'm going to give you something very, very simple. Very, very simple. And now the challenge is on, oh, good speech, and I'm going to go home. No. Here's the challenge. We have the longest night service coming. We've been doing this for many years. Last year we weren't able to do it. This year it's back again. Pastor Nick Jankowski, for those who remember our brother, Pastor Nick, started this liturgical service. And we sat down, we started talking about this, like, what is the core of who Mosaic is that we sit with broken people. That's our whole, if you didn't know, our whole logo, our whole name. Broken pieces brought together, made beautiful through Jesus. And so we started this longest night service. And this is what I've found over the course of its time. And it makes sense. I'm not saying anything negative. The people who come are people who are desperately broken and grieving. Okay, understood. I get that. Makes sense. In my mind, I'm like, hey, I'm good. I'm not mourning anything. I'm celebrating. I'm eggnogging. I'm wrapping presents. I'm in the Christmas season. And so I don't need a service like that, which, okay, understood. And so we have a handful of people who attend our service every time that we do it. And those people who come find beautiful space to weep, to be broken, to express pain, to sit quietly. They have a space to say, holidays are not community for me this year. And so there's brokenness. If I have community and I've got all that I need and my family's coming, I'm good and I have no loss this year, then we're all going to celebrate. I'm on celebrate mode. And so when I'm on celebrate mode, I'm not even looking around my own church family to see if other people are celebrating or not. I'm on celebrate mode. And so here's a simple challenge. The longest night is a group of people, beautiful people who need space. Whether you need the space or not, I want you to show up. Because those people need community. They're lonely, they're broken, and they're sad. And what hurts me, and this, again, no one's fault, they sit by themselves lonely. We talk with them, minister to them. I'm one person, a couple of our staff, they're by themselves. Lonely to lonely, back to lonely. Broken to broken, back to broken. And what if it's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you December 21st for an hour. What if we as a church family, whether you're celebrating or hurting, come to sit with those who are broken? Because I think that's what Jesus would do. To take a little bit of my celebration time, and I know it's only 4 days. I get it. I understand. Every year that I'm involved with it, I'm like, okay, I got to carve out this space because my schedule is so packed. I'm like, this is important. So here's my challenge. If we want to start loving the way Jesus does with the way, here's your number one easy plug and play. Join us at Longest Night and come be. And when you see someone broken, be with them. If you see someone by themselves, ask if they'd like someone to sit by them. Don't just assume. Maybe they want to be alone. But come and be. Be in a space where your church family will be, because people will be here and will need that space. Come and partake in that. Because now you'll start to understand and start to hear, what does it look like to be a family? Because at this season, Christmas brings up so many different emotions because of broken relationships, lost relationships, broken community. What if we as a community came in and did it? Love's going to cost you something. Love that doesn't cost you something is cheap. Love that costs you something is sacrificial, and that's what Jesus did. So I want to bring you back to a different verse, 1 John 3:16-20. Listen to this as we think about sacrifice and giving. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. If anyone has material possessions or sees a brother or sister in need, but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? Did you catch that? We see someone in need and we don't do anything. How can the love of God be in that person? Because the love of God, as we learn from Jesus, Father to the Son to disciples to spread. You say you love somebody, but you're not willing to sacrifice. You don't have pity on them. How can the love of God be in them? Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but in actions and in truth. Let's do something with love. Because at the core of this, there's a humility to our love. There's a sacrifice to our love. And when we do this, not just with people that we're besties with, as a family, what do you think will start to happen when you, an individual, set a spark of love to a spark of love to a spark of love? You now become Ralph and Claudia Schaefer to little 8-year-old Jason Montano. Or maybe you become Ralph and Claudia to that 75-year-old who's alone this year. Perhaps you get to be that person where they're not going to remember what you said, but they'll remember that you love them. Because love has and does change the world. Listen to this. Paul talks about this to his church in Philippi. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. Practically, our love for others means we're continually finding great value in those around us, and our lives reflect it. So if you want to follow the way and know what Jesus did and what he said, you love first. Love, love, love. We are humble. We are sacrificial. We open our hands to the things we have, your possessions, your time, your finances, your home. Just love people. And have people say this. You know, when you talk, every time you talk, you bring me to church. People, could they say that about what you say to them? Or when you invite them to their home, into your home for a meal? Again, invite your besties. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, y'all can party. I'm talking about thinking different. Trying something different in your DNA, how God made you. Now, introverts, you can breathe. It doesn't have to be a large group of people. It can be one. Introverts, I know that you are worn out by large groups of people. My wife is an introvert. And I share with her, it doesn't take a room full of people. It takes one spark, one person. Go to longest night. Sit next to one person who's alone. Don't have to say much. Be. Sometimes words get us in trouble. Be. Introverts, if you're feeling like this is too overwhelming for me, remember, God has created you completely beautiful and perfect and on mission. Because my personality is a lot for introverts. And my wife's personality is perfect. And the two shall become one, right? So we're both extreme, her moderate, right in the middle, right? But think how God has made you, and how do you live out love the way God has created you? Passage brings us all together in verse 18. Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but as action and in truth. Make a mental decision to do something. Longest night is coming. It is so simple, my friends. So simple. And you're going to hear this and be like, yeah, okay. But here's the challenge. Show up. And let's see how many of you show up. Look around the room. If you're like, you don't have to send me an email. I'm really busy. Don't guilt me. I'm not saying that, my friends. I'm saying if you're there, if you want to try something new, come and be. Friends, volunteer in our kids' ministry. We're always looking for more people. We're always looking for people, especially older people, to pour into our next generation of our youth, next generation of our teens, next generation of our young adults. Invite someone to your home for a meal, into a gathering. Hospitality is a way of loving. Do something radically loving this Christmas season the way Jesus would have done it, because the way he taught it. The Father has loved me. I have loved you. He had a command for me. I have a command for you. Take my love, take my command, now pass it on and pass it on and pass it on. Over and over and over again. John 13:34-35 brings it all together. A new command I give to you. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you're my disciples if you love one another. Disciples of Jesus are radical. They're sacrificial. They give. They give time. They give resources. They give their hands. They give their heart. They work through hard relationships because they're becoming like our master. When we do this, watch yourself be transformed and start to think of Mosaic Church not as a building where we sing songs. We are a boot camp to be like Jesus. You want to follow the way? Learn who the way is. It is a boot camp to learn, to grow, to be challenged. Not for guilt and for shame and I'm not good enough. None of that's being said. Wherever you are, you can get stronger. Wherever you're weak, you can take a step forward. And our challenge today as we close up this amazing series of following the way, we've learned we got to know the way, know that Jesus has commanded all of us as believers to love the way Jesus has loved us and gave his life for us.
Once again, thank you so much for listening. If If you live in Southeast Wisconsin, we would love to connect with you at our weekend gathering. For service time, directions, and to learn more about our vision to ignite a movement of love that transforms our community and the world, visit us at mosaicwi.com.